Well, hello and welcome to the first of our 15-minute webinars. And today we're going to kick off with looking at Microsoft Office Forms. The number of people that I speak to during my training sessions and for Office 365, and I ask if they're using specific applications, and very few people have heard of Microsoft Forms, and yet you're paying for them, so surely you should be using them. A lot of people use SurveyMonkey to get their information from people, external and internal. Well, you can actually get it from Microsoft Forms, which is all part of your Office 365 environment. So my name's Tim Price. On behalf of Train IT Midlands, thank you for joining us today. Let's take a look and see what Microsoft Forms can do for us. So I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go. So I'm logged on into my Office 365 environment. And if I have a look on the left-hand side, I can see that there's a number of different applications, and some of these are quite obvious. We've got Word, we've got Excel, we've got PowerPoint, but then we get into the mystical environment of things like SharePoint and Teams, OneNote, Yammer. And as I scroll down on the left-hand side, I come across my Forms option. Now, if for some reason you can't see your Forms option on the left-hand side, then don't worry. Click onto the All Apps button at the bottom of your screen, and it will show you all of the applications that you have available within your Office 365 environment. So scrolling through here, I can see that I've got Microsoft Forms, I've got Planner. We'll do a lot more 15-minute webinars on all of these applications. So I'm going to click on Microsoft Forms. It opens up my Forms environment, and you can see that I've just got one form in here at the moment, and this was to do with something, a project and customer satisfaction. Okay, if I've got a number of different forms in here, they will all be displayed on this screen. For those of you that are part of bigger Office 365 groups, you can also jump into those groups from the little links at the bottom here, and you can go and create forms within those groups. Obviously, if you create a form within a group, the rest of the group are able to modify and edit those forms as well. Whereas if I stay in my own group, in my own personal forms, I'm the owner of those particular forms. So let's have a look at how we can quickly create a form. It could be for some feedback for a training course that you've done. It could be for a customer satisfaction form. So I'm just going to click onto my new form option, and it will open up in the browser. And you could be using Google Chrome, you can be using Microsoft Edge. Any of the latest browsers allow you to use your Office 365. And all I need to do is give this particular form a name. So maybe it's going to be a feedback for our 15-minute. So our 15-minute webinar feedback. And you'll see how bad my typing and spelling is. So please feel free to comment and pick me up on anything that I do incorrectly. If you do have any questions as we go through the session, then please use the chat panel. And then hopefully at the end of the session, we'll have a little bit of time that we can do some Q&A. So the title of my form is 15-minute webinar feedback. I can, if I wanted to, add an image. So if I wanted to make this look a little bit prettier, a little bit more enticing for people to go into, I can go and either pick up a file that I've got saved on my OneDrive storage. I can even go and search across the internet using Bing. So I'm going to search, and I'm just going to search for something which says, well, let's search for Microsoft Forms logo. Maybe it would look pretty good with a Forms logo in there. And there we go. It's gone over there. Everything is within the Creative Commons license, which means there's no copyright. It means that there's no royalties to pay on this. So I'm just going to bring back the first form that I can see, and I'm just going to add that to my form. Okay, depending on the size of the image, there we go. Looks a lot more attractive now. So there's my feedback. I can put a quick description in there to say, please let us know how the webinar has helped you. There we go. And then we can start adding questions. If you're familiar with SurveyMonkey and other likewise applications, then all we have to do is choose from the type of questions, and we can have multiple choice, we can have a text, we can have ratings, we can put a date choice in there. And then if we click on the little drop down arrow, we've got other options such as ranking, Likert, file uploads, net promoter scores. We can even split our form into sections if we wanted to. Now, being as this is an introduction to your forms, I'm going to keep it quite simple, and we're not going to have any multiple sections. We're just going to keep it in one flat form. Okay. So first of all, I want to know what their name is. So I'm going to type in name. Now, a lot of people that I have seen Microsoft Forms used put quite long titles in there. You can actually get the feedback from these forms in Microsoft Excel. And if you've got long column names, then they're a bit of a nightmare for you to analyze. So my top tip is to keep the names of the columns short. Okay, so I've just put name in there. And what I can do from these little 3 dots, which is the more options, I can actually put a subtitle onto my questions, which means I can be more specific now to say, please enter your full name. Okay, then the answer would be put into the box below. Now you can choose whether you want a short answer, i.e. you can't press enter to get like a paragraph, or you can turn it into a long answer. I've also got the opportunity to say this is a mandatory requirement. I need to know your name, and that's pretty much it. Let's move on down to the next question. So I want to know what was the webinar that you've attended. So I'm going to do a multiple choice, and my multiple choice is going to be 15-minute session. And in the subtitle, I'm just going to say, which webinar did you attend? There we go. I did say that my spelling was pretty rubbish, but good old spell check comes into play and helps me out on there. Option 1, so I could say this was the Microsoft Forms. Okay. Option 2, we're going to be doing something on Microsoft Planner, I would imagine, at some point. Add another option. We'll do something along the lines of OneDrive for Business, and so on and so forth. So I can put multiple answers in there. It's required, but I can choose whether it's going to be a drop-down list that people can choose from, or whether it's just going to be a multiple selection that I can do on there as well. So that's question number 2. Question number 3 is going to be the date that you attended. So I'm going to choose the date question. Attended session is my title. It's quite useful to put a space in there. And I'm going to say, please enter the date you, I don't know, attended the session. I'm sure you can do a better job than me. And this is just going to be a calendar that they can choose from. And once again, it's a required option. And then finally, obviously the big one, how do they rate me? So rate the session, okay? How did you rate the session as a whole? Hopefully that's how you spell whole. And you can choose whether you have it on a 1, 2, 3, 4 levels. So maybe we'll just have good or bad, good or excellent on there 3. You can even change it from a star to a number if you wanted to. So the whole point of this is that it's really easy to put all of these questions together now. That's required. And then maybe the last question is just going to be text, and it's going to be any, just have it as comments. There we go. So any other comments, question mark? That's not required, okay? I'm going to make it a long answer so people can do paragraphs in there, but it's not required, so it's an optional. If they don't want to put anything in there, then that's entirely up to them. Once I've done that and I have a look at it and I think, well, that looks pretty good, I can then move into my preview option. So up here on the top of your screen, when I move into preview, it shows me exactly what this form is going to look like to the end user when they click onto the link I'm going to send them. I can also look at what it would be like for a mobile phone, because remember, all this information might look completely different if you're going to get people to answer and submit their entries on a mobile phone. So I get to choose both. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to come back and I'm going to actually put a bit of a theme on this. Now my theme actually picks up from the title of your form. So because I put feedback in there, it's sort of giving me some ideas that may be around what I want to use. Okay, I could just go for plain colors. I could even go and upload my own theme if I wanted to, and I can go and browse for it. I can go and upload it if I've got it on my desktop or stored on my machine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I've got something in mind. I'm going to go to my desktop. He says, there we go. I'm going to get to my desktop. I'm going to go into my forms folder, and I've got something to do with training on there. And we'll upload that one. Now, again, depending on the size of the form, it may take a few more seconds to do, but that looks pretty good. And when I go back, I can see that that has now been selected as my theme. And if we look at it, it's, you know, transparent, quite blurred, but yeah, it's adding a little bit of a theme to my particular form now. So after all that, now I need to share it with people. Now, there's one thing to keep in mind. I've actually asked for the name of the person. I can share this form with people within my company, classed as internal, or I can share them with people external, which is outside of my company. If I share it internal, it will automatically give me the choice to collect their name and their email address. If I click onto the little settings button up here in the top right hand corner, okay, and go to settings, who can fill in this form? So this is restricted to only people within my organization, and I can record their name, and it will also record their email address. You can turn that off if you want it to be anonymous, okay? You can restrict it to just one response per person. And I can also restrict it to specific people within my organization, and then I can nominate those people. For now, I want it to be anybody, okay? So anybody can respond to this. Doesn't matter whether they're internal, whether they're external, okay? It's open to accept responses. You can even narrow it down between a certain date if you wanted to close on a certain date. But for now, I'm going to accept responses, and I can even customize the thank you message if I wanted to. That's what you normally get. You respond, your response was submitted. I could say, thank you for your time and submitting your feedback. And then I can put my name in there if I wanted to, Tim Price. So after all that, that's the people that can share. The only thing I've got to do now is to go and click on share. Anybody can respond and copy that link. I can then put that link into an email. I can put it onto a web page. I can put it into WhatsApp message, into a Teams message. You can also generate QR codes if you wanted to. So you can download a QR code and maybe print it, and people can scan it and then come in on their phones. So there's a whole host of different ways we can do it. I can even send an email out straight away now to people. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come to the easy way, which is to copy the link, and then I can send that out in an email, or I can put it into, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it into the chat for this particular webinar. So I'm going to click onto my chat option, and if you feel that you fancy filling that form in, then there's the link. So you can fill it in and let me know what you thought of today. Let me show you what it looks like when people do fill in that form. So I'm just going to paste the link that I've copied. This would be the equivalent of them clicking onto it. And you can see that this is the form that they can fill in now. The red asterisk means that it's required. So I'm going to put my name in. I'm going to choose, it was the Microsoft Form session, and I'm going to tell them what day did we attend that session, and it was the 29th. How did you rate it? Don't know, what do you think? I'm going to go for an average because I'm sure there's room for improvement. This is our first webinar, remember, for our 15 minutes. Any other comments? Not bad for a first timer. On spell. And now I'm going to click submit. And there we go. Thank you for your time and submitting your feedback, Tim Price. Now, they can submit another response because I didn't tick that option, but that has now been submitted back to me. The thing about getting feedback from people is if you do it on individual forms, whether it's paper, whether it's a Word document or Excel, you've then got to go and bring all those responses back together. That is the biggest pain. So now the beauty of forms is that when we go and have a look at this new form that we've created, I can see that I've had one response so far. And when I click into that form, it gives me a great little dashboard. No expense spared. Go to my responses. This is now giving me a view of all the responses that I've had. And it gives me this little dashboard with little charts in there. I can go into more detail and have a look at that information if I wanted to. Remember, this is external, so it does not collect the name automatically. It comes up as anonymous. I've already collected the name from my first question. So all of this accumulates together now. And as we get more responses, I get averages and things like that. So this is really useful, but the best bit is I can even download that into Excel now. Now, what I'm going to do, because there's only one response on that, I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to pick up my other form, which is this project ruler customer satisfaction. Okay. I should have checked it first. I've no idea what's in there, but I'm going to click on my responses and I can see that it was Jay and James and Chris. Oh, we were asking if they preferred wooden or plastic rulers. They were a supplier of stationery. So I can see on here what the feedback was really easily. When did they buy this? How did you rate it? And again, I can go into more detail if I wanted to and have a look at that information. But the whole point of this is I can open it up in Excel. I do not have to pull all this information together. So it's downloaded my Excel. I can open up that file now. And it gives me all the information that was in that survey. If you're a bit of an Excel whiz, I can go and throw this information into things like a pivot chart. I can analyze it. I can summarize it. I can do whatever I want to. Yeah. So what ruler types did people like, and how many people liked those type of rulers? So there we go. So I can quite easily do my own little dashboard with my own little pivot table, my own little pivot chart. And if we make this look a little bit smaller, as that information keeps coming in over the next few weeks, I can just keep coming back in and refreshing my own little dashboard. So there you go. Microsoft Forms in just over 15 minutes. Didn't think it was too bad. Look out for us in the future. We're going to put together some more short little webinars that will help you improve on your skills. But not only that, it will make sure that you're using things that you're already paying for in your Office 365 environment.